Core English, Grade 3, Book 3, Unit 1, page 17. We're talking about verbs today. Verbs are doing words. I am talking. Talking is the verb. It's the action that I'm doing, and I'm waving my hand. Waving is a verb. So in the book, the examples are the dog chases the rabbit across the field, and the word chases is the verb. Layla kicks the ball into the goal. Kicks is the verb. The verb to be is a being verb. It tells us what people and things are. My journey to school is long. You are my friend. These are all verbs. Now, A, it says, copy the sentences below and underline the verbs. Abdullah's mother puts his lunch in his satchel. Find the verb and underline it, and do the same thing with the other two sentences. Then, B, think of a verb to fill the gaps in the following sentences. Grandfather is hungry, was hungry. Butterflies are beautiful insects. Abdullah, late for the bus. Fill the sentences in, please. Now, as well as telling people what things are, the verb says to be tells us what things were and what they will be. I was, you were, he will be. It gives us past, present and future. Powerful verbs and adjectives. Some ways of saying things are much more powerful than others. If we said the sentence, the mouse ate my cake, we know exactly what that means. Or if we said the dinosaur came out of the cave, we know exactly what's happened. The dinosaur came out of the cave. End of story. But it's not very interesting and exciting. So we can change those sentences by adding more powerful descriptive words, and you get something that gives us a much clearer idea of what was really happening. The hungry mouse gobbled up my favourite cake. The hairy dinosaur charged out of the dark cave. Well, we now know very clearly exactly what happened in both cases, don't we? The mouse was there and he was scoffing that cake like there was no tomorrow, and the dinosaur came out of that cave going "Rah!" So now we know what was happening. Now, how do we find out these words if we don't already know them? Well, we use a book called a thesaurus. A thesaurus is a book that's a bit like a dictionary. It's just a list of words, but it's a list of words, and then it gives you suggestions for different words you can use in the same place to make more interesting sentences. So that for every word that's like ate, which is a very simple word, there will be many, many words which you can use to replace it that are much more interesting and give you a much more graphic idea about what's happening in the story. So, let's look at A. It says, copy the sentences and choose the most interesting verb to fill each gap. Well, you don't need to copy anything, you're just going to write in the book. The bus, and then you use one of those two words, up the mountain. Now you say, well, which one went up the mountain? Which word's the best way to describe going up the mountain? You put it there. Only one of the two, you see. And then we use the same idea for both sentences. You've got two words, you put one of them here. You choose the best one, the most interesting one. Now that's finished. Now we look at B. Look at the story on pages 10, 11 and 14, and now find two examples of interesting verbs and two examples of interesting adjectives. Find two nouns that you could describe with an interesting adjective. And then I'd like you to write some sentences using these verbs, adjectives and nouns in your notebook. And don't forget to write the date. Now then, new spellings. When you're learning new spellings, if you've got a really long word, trying to learn all of it together is sometimes quite difficult. And it's much, much simpler if you split the word up into pieces, you cut it into sections. In the book, the example is butterfly. So it's in 3 pieces. Butterfly. We can do that with almost all words. When words are spelled with 2 vowels together, the vowels usually make 1 sound rather than 2. So here, EA is E, read. Here, snail is A, snail. And this is an ow sound, it's not O-ow, sound. This is very common in English, not so common in Khmer. So very often in Khmer, you say both letters separately. And that's what confuses a lot of Cambodian students. So you have to listen to teacher and you do the same as teacher. You don't do what you think you should do because you're Khmer. Nothing wrong with being Khmer, but you keep the Khmer pronunciation for when you're speaking Khmer words. Now, words in English are made up of vowels and consonants. The basic vowels are A, E, I, O and U. All of the rest of the letters of the alphabet are consonants. But letters can be used together, or they can be pronounced differently. So the 5 vowels are pronounced A, E, I, O, and U, So that's not just 5 vowels, there's 10. And then we have other letter groups which have different vowel pronunciations, and then we have the consonant pronunciations. For example, the sound of PH in English isn't P in the same way that it is when we pronounce Phnom Penh. PH in English is always pronounced as an F sound, F, as in teacher's name, Philip. Now, here are some new words for you. Journey, satchel, floating, porridge, weave. Journey, satchel, floating, porridge, weave. Now, listen carefully. When I say those words, you can hear that I am saying them as syllables. One of those words only has 1 syllable. There's 1 sound for the whole word. So you've got journey, satchel, floating, porridge, and weave. Which one of those do you think is the one that's only 1 syllable? You decide, and you can write that here. Now, in your notebook, write a sentence using each of the words. So, for example, you could say, my journey to school was difficult today. Satchel. It's another name for school bag. My satchel is very heavy. I was floating in the sea. I had porridge for breakfast. Weave. I can weave through the traffic on my bicycle. Now, B. Look at the new words in A above. Find the vowels in each word. So if you underline each vowel, do any of the words have 2 vowels together? What sound do the vowels make? So if you look at this, you've got OU, and it's journey. The OU is not pronounced as O or U, it's journey. Floating. It's not floating, it's O, floating. So look at the words, figure out which ones have more than 1 vowel together, and where there's 1 sound, not 2, and write down the answers. Now, last thing, and that's the end of the book for today. Reading the story, pages 10, 11 and 14. Find 2 examples of words that are spelled with 2 vowels together. Write a sentence using each of those words. So find the words in the story and then write your own sentences using those words. And that's the end of English 3 for today. Now let's take a look at the workbook. English Lesson 2, Book 3, Workbook, page 4. Nouns, adjectives and verbs. A. Put the words in the correct order to make sentences. Add capital letters and full stops. So you've got words here. They're all mixed up, so you should make them into a good English sentence with the correct capital letters and full stops. You do the same for all 4 words. B. Use the words from the sentences above to complete these lists. So find the nouns, find the proper nouns, which you've got an example of here, find the adjectives, which are here, and find the verbs, which go here. When you've done that, you've finished page 4. Now, page 5. You have a word search. Find 5 nouns, 5 proper nouns, 5 adjectives, and 5 verbs. Use the clues below to help you. So in each case, you've got a first letter for the words. So that should make it nice and easy, shouldn't it? So when you find the words, put a circle around them in the word search and put a check mark when you've finished each of the written words. And that's the end of classwork for today.